This program is brought to you by Emory University.
Good afternoon and welcome to our Inside the MBA Admissions Committee with Goizueta Business School. We're talking today about funding your MBA. I'm Angela Bostic. I'm the Chief Marketing and Communications Officer here at the Business School, and I am joined by none other than our Dean, our Czar of Admissions in the MBA program, Julie Barefoot. Julie has got so much knowledge in this space and area that I felt like a one-on-one conversation today to talk about this very important topic was probably the best way to get all of your questions answered as you think about applying to Goizueta Business School. For those of you who haven't joined us before, I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping first, and then we'll talk about the chat itself. Our chats are very interactive. We hope you will ask questions early and often. I will answer some of them on air, so if you see me feverishly typing, I am not ignoring you. I'm actually trying to answer you. There are also folks off camera who are doing the same, so you'll get your questions answered if you can go ahead and submit them regularly throughout. We may hold them because we know that there are answers coming up in the future, but continue to ask them. Also, the chat will be available to you afterwards, so you don't have to make sure you write down every note or take every detail down right away. But definitely make sure that you're asking the things you need. In addition, Julie will walk through some of the details that are here and be able to provide some information you'll see on screen. That'll also be available, the slides for you afterwards. So I think we can go ahead and get started. I'll let Julie introduce herself, give her a little bit of her amazing background, and we're going to talk about how you can fund your MBA.
Thank you, Angela. Well, thank you for taking the time to listen to this chat today. I just want to say we look forward to reviewing your applications. It's a great part of the job. We welcome your interest in Goizueta Business School. And I'm sure that one of the things that's on your mind is how am I going to fund this? And so that's what I'm here representing the admissions committee to answer for you. I've worked at Goizueta for over 29 years and have had a number of different roles. But my baby, I've always worked in MBA admissions. So I'm passionate about what we offer, about the degree, and just the MBA in general. It's just it's the best graduate degree, best ROI out there. But particularly at Goizueta, I'm really passionate about that we offer such a wonderful experience in a small, intimate learning community with a real focus on helping you realize your career goals. And so we want to answer your questions about how you can how you can fund the MBA experience. And that's what today's about.
Absolutely. And I know it's an important question. You're coming back to business school, you're looking at leaving your job. You want to make sure you fully understand the ROI for that. And a good portion of that has to do with how you fund your program. So we're going to talk about a few things. Feel free to start submitting your questions. We'll start with kind of a very basic one in terms of talking about the type of funding that's available for an MBA here at Goizueta. And I know we have some info to share on screen, but talk about the different funding options that exist.
Right. Well, we have basically three different options. One of them is just your general merit scholarships that are available to students. Another one is named scholarships, which means that the funding source comes from an endowed fund, so a generous donor to Goizueta, and we are fortunate to have many of those, and so there are quite a few named scholarships. The most prestigious is the Woodruff Fellowship, and that is a full tuition scholarship plus a $10,000 per year stipend, so it's very significant. And then we also have center fellowships. Those are less about the money itself. It's more about the opportunity to work with faculty, although in some instances there is the opportunity to earn some money similar to what a graduate assistantship would be like, where students are paid by the hour to work for a faculty member. So those are the three different ways.
Awesome. And when you think about it in terms of how individuals do this, what do people normally do to fund their MBA? Is it a mix? Do people only focus on one area?
Yeah, it's definitely a mix. As I'm sure you know, individuals enrolling in our program on average have 5 years of work experience, whether it's the 1 year or the 2 year. And so, these are individuals that have, they're accomplished, they have meaningful work experience, and therefore they have strong salaries. And so they know that they're giving that up. And so what are the ways that they fund their education to go to a full-time program? One would be their personal savings. Secondly would be, in many instances, it is for scholarship, and the other one is private loans. And so through Emory's Office of Financial Aid, through completing a FAFSA form, you can apply for a wide variety of of private MBA loans. The rates are relatively affordable because MBA students are actually very good credit risk. And so the loan programs are readily available. And I'm very proud to say that we are a school that provides a loan to international students without a U.S. cosigner. And so that's something that's, I think, an advantage for us in recruiting international students.
Absolutely, and you see information on the screen that talks about the last couple of years, actually about 5-year time period. Do you imagine that funding issue will change? Do you think there'll be more focus on personal loans, more focus on private loans, or is that more kind of market based?
I would say that in terms of what we're going to offer in the coming years, I think it's going to be pretty consistent. Obviously, I encourage students as you are thinking, candidates as you're thinking about preparing for the MBA. I do. I've always heard it said, get your financial house in order. I think it is helpful that you come in with, with some personal savings, but we encourage you to apply to our program by round 3 so that you can be fully considered for any of our merit-based scholarships.
Awesome. So we're going to talk a little bit about scholarships. I think that's a big area people want to understand. How does it work? When can I receive them? How do I apply?
Right.
Before I move off of that, I want to make sure I tackle this question that just came in because we've gotten it a lot, and you want to make sure people are fully understanding that. Is it possible or advisable to attempt to maintain full-time employment if you're trying to go through the full-time program?
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm going to be very clear. No, it is not possible. It is not possible, and it's really not advisable. And so, first of all, let me tell you why it's not possible. Our MBA program, and certainly any rigorous selective MBA program, the kind that you should be considering, it is not possible to continue your employment. This is an opportunity to take 1 or 2 years for you to leave the workforce and to really devote it to the enhancement of your skill set on all levels. Analytical level, through our program, we have so many opportunities for you to strengthen that. We have experiential learning opportunities to strengthen your analytical skill set, your leadership skill set. We have a whole program devoted to that. Our program is an immersive, transformative experience. So not only is it not possible, it's not humanly possible, there's not enough hours in the day for you to do all that, but it's really not advisable. It's not advisable because you want to be devoted to your studies, you want to be involved in our community, there's so many opportunities for leadership, and also the job search process itself at the MBA level is very time consuming, and you want to have the time to devote to that because individuals that are looking in a full-time program, you're looking to change your career. Right? And so that's, again, it's that transformative experience that we offer. And in order to do that, you need to be devoted to your MBA studies.
Absolutely. And I think that's really important. It's kind of difficult. I know that a lot of students come in and say, well, I want to make sure I maintain some employment or some financial focus. And truthfully, I think Julie's right. It does a disservice to the experience that you'll have. And honestly, in the long run, won't allow you to be able to have the kind of ROI you may be expecting because it's very difficult to try to balance something as rigorous as our program with a lot of other demands.
Absolutely.
Personal life even. So just making sure that you're focused to that regard.
Absolutely.
We've had a couple questions come in that are specific to ways you should go about financial aid and how you should determine your eligibility. If I'm a homeowner, if I live in a certain state, if I'm coming internationally. Because we're not talking directly about the management and the processes of financial aid, I would highly recommend that you visit our Emory site for financial aid and contact them directly. Every case is unique. It truly is. And so they are best suited to talk you through that process. We'll make sure we answer all those questions afterwards on air that we can, off air I should say, that we can via email. But if you've got specific questions about your financial aid case, they're the best group to work directly with, Emory Financial Aid.
Yeah.
So we're going to move our attention a little bit to talk about fellowships and scholarship. And that's an interesting topic. So scholarships, fellowships don't always mean the same thing in the same places. But assuming that these are both ways that you receive funding from the business school, talk a little bit about how that works, the differences in scholarships, and what candidates need to do to ensure they are considered for the best funding opportunities.
That's a great question, and I'm really happy to answer it. I want to say we try and make this process, number one, as transparent, but as easy as possible for you. And so as an applicant to our program, if you apply by round 3, which is in January, all right, so the January deadline, and you are admitted to our program, you are automatically reviewed for scholarship. Let me reiterate, automatically. There's nothing extra that you have to do to be considered for any of our named or or merit-based scholarships. What we do is at the end of each round 1, round 2, round 3, and even round 4, although usually there's not nearly, if any, funds available, which is why I'm focusing on our first 3 rounds. We look at the end of the round, before we release a decision, we review all the admitted candidates again and consider them for merit-based aid. And merit for us is this overall strength of your application. So sort of the same criteria that we used to consider you for admission, in a sense to offer you admission. So the quality of your work experience, the strength of your academic preparedness, your demonstrated leadership, all of these factors, that's what we're going to look at to consider you for merit-based aid. And what I think would be helpful for you to know is that for scholarships for us, they are a recruiting tool to enable us to recruit the best class we can. So therefore, we're going to award candidates anywhere from 20% to full tuition, depending on how strong your application is relative to everybody else we've admitted in that round. Also, we will tell you at the time of your admission, so round 1, when we notify you that you have been admitted, you will know your scholarship award. Same for round 2 and round 3. I think one of the things we do is we know that before you make your deposit, you want to know what type of aid you might get, some type of scholarship that you might get. The only additional effort that possibly would be on your part is if you are one of the finalists for our most prestigious scholarship, which is our Woodruff Fellowship. That is a fellowship and for us that means it includes a stipend. So as I said, 4 individuals in each 2-year class are offered a Woodruff Fellowship. It's named after Mr. Robert Woodruff, who is a tremendous benefactor to Emory University and a longtime chairman and CEO of the Coca-Cola Company. And so that scholarship, as I said, full tuition plus a $10,000 per year stipend, does involve an interview process, and that takes place in February of each year. But other than that, there's no additional interview or additional application or anything for our scholarships.
Awesome. So one thing I want to make sure you talk to a little bit about so that folks understand. Talk about what our scholarships are here and then what our fellowships are and the distinction between the Woodruff Fellows and the Center Fellowships.
Yes.
And a little bit about that detail. So I think that nomenclature is unique to us.
It is unique to us, and I grant you that it's a little bit confusing. So as I said, we have merit-based scholarships. Everybody's automatically reviewed for that. The named scholarships, everyone is automatically considered for those. Again, the only one that has an additional interview process is the Woodruff Fellowship, which includes a stipend. And then we have our Center Fellows. So we're very fortunate to have 3 faculty research-focused centers, and they are in social enterprise, marketing analytics, and alternative investments. And under those, and each one is led by a faculty member, and of course this involves, and they teach specialized electives in each one of those areas, and those are part of these social enterprise and alternative investments, which would be like real estate, private equity, venture capital, those types of areas, as well as the marketing analytics. Those are part of our strategic pillars for the school. And you can apply for a center fellowship, which enables you to work with a faculty member in more of a research role. You get also some specialized mentoring along the career lines when you are selected for a center fellow. You apply, all of this is on the website, but you apply for a center fellow at the same time that you submit your application. And it's just a simple additional essay answering a question about why do you want to be a center fellow, either in social enterprise or marketing analytics or alternative investments. That your essay is reviewed by the faculty director, and then we will notify you if you've been selected for that again right around the time of your admission to our program.
Yeah. And I think that's important to note. It functions a little bit like a graduate assistantship. So it's
Right.
a little bit, it's not the same financial
Benefit.
that you might
Right.
expect to have from a traditional fellowship or even
Right.
from our Woodruff Fellows.
Right.
So it's a different language. While we're on the topic of talking about graduate assistantships a
Yeah.
bit, can you explain opportunities like graduate assistantships and how they exist within the program?
Right.
And what should individuals do to consider that?
Absolutely. So we're often asked about graduate assistantships, and they are plentiful here. That's an opportunity. It's similar to like a graduate assistant or a teaching assistantship, but we call them graduate assistantships. You work with a faculty member, and you're paid by the hour to perhaps maybe provide study sessions, maybe grade papers at the undergraduate level, again, maybe work on research, help a faculty member writing a textbook, any of these types of activities. That's always determined by the faculty member. You apply for those in the second semester of the program. So our first semester, whether it's in the summer for the 1 year or in the fall for the 2 years, is extremely demanding. It's an intense experience. Part of it is, of course, you're returning to school, and that in of itself is going to be stressful and intensive. But it's, as you know, we have a compact core where all the core classes in that first semester. So it's not possible, not possible for you to work for a faculty member in a GA role then. But absolutely, you can apply for a graduate assistant opportunity in your second semester, and you could even continue it throughout the rest of your time at Goizueta. And I should say that you can have, the merit-based scholarship is really the primary way that you could fund your education, again, plus your savings and loans, but the primary way that you could get funding through the business school. Graduate assistantships and center fellowships would help supplement it, but I always tell candidates it's really going to help you with pay the rent. It's not going to help you with tuition. But here's the good news. You can receive a merit-based scholarship, one of these named scholarships, as well as be a center fellow, as well as be a graduate assistantship. So the center fellows and graduate assistantships are more, if you think about it, more paid by the hour, more modest in terms of what? In terms of financial benefits, the real benefit is working with our faculty. But you could do that and still receive a merit-based scholarship. So I know many students that have all three opportunities.
Awesome. I think that's really, really helpful to know in thinking about in terms of what will fund your degree versus what will fund your time while you're here.
Yeah.
I put up on the screen some details about our merit-based scholarship. We've gotten a couple of questions around the round deadlines. And I want to make sure you've had a chance to truly iterate on the merit scholarship and specifically the named scholarship, the importance of when you apply and what that means. So can you talk about the way that you guys evaluate, and we'll drop into the selection criteria, how you evaluate individuals. I know that when you apply is important, but not necessarily why you get selected.
Yes. Ideally, we prefer that you apply by round 2 to be fully considered for named scholarships. However, we have found over the years we tend to also consider anyone that applied again by that January deadline by round 3. So you'll still get consideration. From our processing standpoint, it makes it a little bit easier for the admissions team to consider people for round 2. But rest assured, this past year and this coming year, everyone that applies through round 3, that's the January timeframe, will be considered for named scholarships. So
that's awesome, and I think it's helpful to know that the timing is important. But talk a little bit about how you select an individual and what you'd like to see on a candidate's resume or application or detail that lets you know that this is the right tool to use to help to yield them.
Right. Well, first of all, we are going to consider someone, again, it's a holistic process. So literally at the end of each round, before we release the decisions, each round, we're going to go back through, it's very time-consuming process, but we want to be fair, and we want to give every candidate an opportunity, because as you can imagine, we're reviewing between when you submit your application and when we make our decision. There's 6 to 8 weeks in that time period, and we're reviewing and making admit decisions on a lot of candidates. And so we take a pause right before we make the decision. We release those decisions, and we're going to review everybody all over again in a holistic process, and say who within this pool, who within this admit group are the strongest candidates. And for us, strongest candidate, as we were chatting about, are those people that we believe are the best fit for Goizueta, believe that they're going to be leaders here in our program, going to contribute to the class. So we're going to look at the quality of your work experience. What would you contribute in the class discussion? We're going to certainly look at your academic preparedness. So we like to see, obviously, strong grades, BB plus averages from your undergraduate time frame. Of course, we consider, where you went to school and what your major was. We are very interested in seeing your leadership, the initiative you've shown in your job. We obviously would like to see that on a resume, but in your interview, you've talked about that. But also, what are your community service activities? What were you involved in undergraduate school? What have you been involved in since? Goizueta students and alums are individuals that want to make a difference. And so that's another, I guess, lens that we're going to look at when reviewing your resume and your application, and of course reviewing the interview. Are you well prepared for business school? Is this the right time for you to go? And do your goals make sense relative to your background? Those are other things that we're going to consider. But again, the key criteria would be the strength of your work experience, your demonstrated leadership, your academic preparedness.
Awesome. I think that's great. We've had a couple questions that have come in related to some of your statements. Let's talk a little bit about the merit scholarships. And as you saw on the screen, and I'll put it back up so you have it, merit scholarships range from roughly 20 to 100% tuition.
Yes.
If I receive a scholarship on the way in the door of 20%, does that change in my following year? Is it the same amount that I get year to year in the 2-year program? Is there anything I can do for it to be increased?
That's a great question. The amount of your award, the dollar amount, will stay the same for your second year. As long as you stay enrolled in the program, you're in good academic standing, and so it stays the same amount. Yes. The answer in terms of whether you could get more dollars, the answer is no. That not from the admissions office. There are a few. I think there's only about 3 or 4 scholarships that you can apply for after you enroll, and those are managed and awarded by the MBA program office. We don't talk about them a lot in the admissions process because I don't like to be misleading to candidates. I don't want you as a potential candidate to think, I might get money later on, because they're relatively modest scholarships. And they're pretty narrow. For example, there's one, I think it's about $2,000 or $3,000 that's focused on an international opportunity, maybe to study abroad. While that's very meaningful, and I'm so glad we have that, it's not going to be as significant as as the scholarships that you might get on the front end.
Absolutely. That's very helpful. I think you definitely want to think about that process in terms of what you come in the door with.
Right.
Talk about, if you can, the difference between opportunities for international students versus domestic students with relation to scholarships. Are there any changes, anything that they should consider differently, any opportunities not available to them or available to them because they're international students?
Not really. I mean, we do it the same process. Everyone that is admitted at each, the first 3 rounds at that time point frame, we're going to review candidates, and we're looking for, again, that progressive work experience. We're looking for your ability to contribute in the class, again, academic preparedness as evidenced by grades and test scores, particularly your quantitative preparation. So I would say, we do award merit-based scholarships to many incoming international students, just like we do for domestic students.
Awesome. An additional question that came in, I think it's an interesting way to think about it. Is there anything in my application, or if I'm applying, that changes, that you believe should be something we submit information that as an update to possibly be considered. So I get a higher GMAT score, or my recommendation comes in and it's a very different recommendation and I really feel like it's going to put me ahead. Do I need to submit that again, or do I need to communicate that something has changed in my application?
Wow. I'm glad you brought that up. That's a great question, because that does happen pretty frequently, actually, meaning that candidates share with the admissions committee additional information. And it, ideally that they will share it between when they apply and when, and when the decision is released, or at least, give us at least a week before we're releasing the decision to share that information so we can make sure it's incorporated into the decision-making process. But yes, if between that time frame, or even after you're admitted, you have meaningful, significant new information. And I think Angela outlined several of them. Obviously, if you have a new improved GMAT or GRE, definitely let us know. If you have received a promotion at work, definitely let us know. If you have a recommendation, maybe one that you had requested earlier and for whatever reason it didn't come through, you've now, and particularly if that is from one of our alumni, we really enjoy hearing from our own alumni about in support of a candidate. All of that, any of that information. If there's a particularly challenging project that you took on at work that you feel like has made you a much stronger candidate, yes, please share that with the admissions committee. The easiest way to do that is to send it to the person that interviewed you. Just about most of the candidates that, most of the individuals that the interview candidates are on the admissions committee. If you did happen to interview with one of our alumni, then you can reach out to the admissions office, the general email, and we'll make sure it gets into your file. And yes, you will be reconsidered for scholarship at that point.
I think that's really important to know about it. As you continue to improve your application, you want to make sure that that's reflected in the opportunities that you see. Before we leave the topic of scholarships, 'cause it's a big one, I want to talk a little bit about our named scholarship, the process, but also just the plethora of opportunities and what those named scholarships mean. And I have on the screen the listing of some of our named scholarships. There are those here. There are others that are not specifically laid out in the space. Again, you'll have this via email so you can look through them. Tell me about the named scholarship. Tell our candidates about the named scholarship and what they need to know about that process.
Yeah. What I guess you need to know is, first of all, for all of them except for the Woodruff, our most prestigious scholarship, there's nothing extra that you have to do. We thoughtfully, and again, we do take a lot of care in awarding these scholarships. We actually we thoughtfully match the background of the candidate that's been admitted with what we know that the donor is looking for. In a couple instances, for example, we have a Kurt Solomon scholarship, obviously, Kurt Solomon consulting firm, and so we try to match that with somebody who has an interest in consulting. Not too difficult to do, since that's one of the most popular areas of concentration here at Goizueta. We have, some of the other scholarships, they might be focused on finance. There's a wide variety. We have over 30 different named scholarships. And again, there's nothing special. There's nothing extra that you have to do. We will consider you for all of them, and again, we try to make the best match. What's a benefit to you, in addition to just obviously having the funds that go along with a named scholarship, is it is prestigious having a name. In most instances, you would be the only student in the class with that name. And that's nice. It's something special for you to put on your resume. It distinguishes you from the rest of your classmates, so I think that's a very I think it's a great honor. And so we put a lot of thought into who we designate, and I know that it's very meaningful to the students that get the award. The Woodruff Fellowship, as I said, it's a little bit different in that what we do is in February. So that we have had a chance to look at everybody that was admitted in round 2 and round 1 and round 2, as well as those candidates that have applied for round 3. We select what we believe are the 10 most outstanding candidates, and we invite them to campus at our expense, and they go through a pretty rigorous interview process. It's a full day of back-to-back interviews. It's a little stressful, but it's a fantastic opportunity. And from those 10 individuals, 4 of them are offered the full tuition scholarship plus a $10,000 per year stipend. Yep.
It's awesome. And I do think the named scholarship, to Julie's point, it does have a level of prestige with it. It also comes with a level of responsibility. And I'd love to talk a little bit about that, because your named scholarships are by benefactors, individuals who have committed to the school and want to basically have a certain level of engagement, involvement, and focus on what kind of students are coming into that. So there is an expectation that as a named scholar, you will be involved in some capacity. So if there are specific ones you want them to know about, it might be great to let them know here.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned that. And I want to say that this an expectation. I'm often asked by individuals that, when I contact them and if I share with them, congratulations, you've been awarded this named scholarship. Understandably, they often say, well, what do I have to do to receive it? What do I have to continue to do? And the answer is, you don't have to do anything. But the expectation is, and fortunately for us, this has been the reality, is that you will be an involved student. And it goes back to what I shared earlier about the criteria. Of course, it's meaningful work experience, and ability to contribute in the class. But truthfully, that's true for anyone that's going to be admitted. And of course, we want people that are well prepared, that are bright, talented, individuals, of course. But the extra about the named scholars is we want individuals that are going to be leaders in the classroom and outside the classroom. And, and our named scholars have not disappointed. They are very often the individuals that, lead the ambassadors program or help plan Welcome Weekend. They are also working as GAs for faculty. So our expectation is that if you are fortunate to be selected as a named scholar, that you will continue what you've done in the past, and that you will want to make a difference, that you're going to be that go-to person on your team, that you're going to be a leader and a contributor in the class.
Absolutely. And we find time and again that our students don't just meet that, they exceed that. And that's kind of part and parcel for being kind of a Goizueta student. And so the admissions team does a fantastic job of aligning named scholarships and their criteria with people in the pipeline. But that's, I think, an important thing to note. I want to talk a little bit about different types of funding that are available for different audiences. So there is an important initiative across our school, whether it be for women or for veterans or for underrepresented minority audiences. I want to talk a little bit about each one of those, but I do want to make it clear that for those who are interested and qualified for those populations, there's greater information on our website specific to these populations. And in often cases, other chats or communications or ways you can dive in deeper about the process for applying for some of these things, because they are different based on the audience. So I think we'll start with veterans. I know that's got a special place in your heart. Julie's an Army brat, so she's got lots of history here. Talk about Goizueta, our veteran commitment, our Yellow Ribbon program, and what veterans need to know about the scholarship opportunities.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, we are a proud Yellow Ribbon school, and so if you are a veteran, well, first of all, thank you for your service. And I want you to know that this is we are a very friendly, supportive environment for veterans. We are very proud to enroll veterans across all of our MBA programs. And we, as a Yellow Ribbon school, that means that we will match the level of support from the VA for individuals who are Yellow Ribbon eligible, or of course, if you're not Yellow Ribbon, then GI Bill eligible. So we're very, very proud of that. Please know that benefit that you would get from the VA matched by Goizueta does not preclude you from being considered for any of the named scholarships. And so I'm very proud to say that one of our current second years is a veteran. I mean, one of our current second year Woodruff scholars is a veteran, and so that's a benefit. I mean that's our again very proactive in recruiting veterans. We also because of veterans and the schedules that they when they're deployed or in country, we allow you to apply later on and we don't hold you as much to the deadlines as we do for other candidates, because we understand, especially those that are deployed overseas, the challenge in meeting those deadlines. If you after admission, if you are deployed, you get an automatic deferment to the next year to not, so that you won't have that stress of having to reapply to our program.
Awesome. I think that's really important, not just that we have funding opportunities, but the sheer commitment that we have to the veterans within the program. And talk a little bit about some of the opportunities that are there, whether it be clubs to work through, our leadership program, our involvement, and just how engaged veterans are across our program. I know that's something that's important for us as a school, but also very valuable, I think, for prospective veteran students to know about us.
Yeah, our veterans have been, and again, not surprising, have really been leaders in the classroom, whether it's on a team or outside of the classroom. They've also been a very strong participant in our Leadership Coaching Fellows program, and also supporting our efforts through the Leadership Program. General Ken Keene, retired Army General Ken Keene, is Associate Dean of our Leader Program, and one of the things that he's done is partnered with either Fort Benning or Fort McClellan in enabling our students to, all of our students, not just veterans, all of our students can participate in a Leader Reaction course, which is similar to, boot camp, except for on a small scale. And our veterans, as well as other students, but in particular our veterans, have served as coaches through that Leader Reaction course. Great opportunity to serve as, to encourage their classmates in what is a challenging both physical but also mental test. Through the Leader Reaction course. So that's a great way that our veterans have been involved. And we also have a very active Veterans Association. They support each other. As you can imagine, veterans often need extra coaching in terms of the interview process. It's not something that they're, particularly if they're interviewing, most of them I'll be trying to pivot in corporate America, and that's something that they're not as familiar with. And so veterans help veterans, as well as our coaches help them in preparing for the interview process.
Yeah, I think it's a great testament to the supportive community that we have, and the ability for veterans to really thrive in the program in lots of meaningful ways. And speaking in terms of a supportive environment and being able to see individuals thrive, I want to talk a little bit about our program opportunities for female candidates. So Forte Fellows, but also just generally the environment in the community for female candidates. What would we want them to know as they're considering the program?
Well, that's also very near and dear to my heart. We as a school have been committed to enrolling meaningful numbers of percentages of women in all of our programs. As most of you may know, it is in many top tier programs, it's usually about 25-30% of the class are female candidates. We want that number to be stronger, and we are committed to that. We have been a member of the Forte Foundation basically since it started. We're very proud to be that part of that organization. It's a partnership between leading companies in corporate America and leading business schools. And so that helps female students prepare for the MBA application process, and just talks to them about all the different career opportunities for women in business. We, again, any female applicant that applies to our program and is admitted is automatically considered for one of the Forte Fellowships. It's a scholarship, not unlike any of the other named scholarships. The funding actually comes from the business school, not from the Forte Foundation. But the benefits, some of the extra benefits, do come from Forte. So there's a conference that our Forte Fellows go to. We help support that. It's before business school starts. Great networking opportunity for our female candidates. There's that. We also provide there's also for Forte Fellows while they're in the program, there's a special luncheon with our dean, Dean Erica James, that's for the Forte Fellows as a way to honor them and also connect them with our dean, which we're very proud that we have one of the few female deans of a top 20 business school. So I think that's a benefit, and access to also we have actually quite a few female faculty here, and so we have there's a very active Goizueta Women in Business, and they have a social every year, a tea with faculty. So there's lots of opportunities for women to have leadership roles here, but also to be supported through the program office as well as through our faculty, and then through these the network that you would have through the Forte Foundation.
Absolutely, and I do think that that kind of commitment continues well into the program. I know we're gearing up for our annual women's conference. It'll be this year in December, so for prospective students, you would be able to join the conference here in Atlanta, along with current students and alumni and individuals kind of across the city to learn a little bit more about the leadership and professional development opportunities that exist. So there'll be separate information that comes to our candidates related to that detail, but definitely if you're a female candidate interested in applying, know the Forte scholarship. Again, nothing you need to do differently in terms of submitting, but know that it's a very prestigious honor and something that is a very visible representation of our commitment to women in the program. And then I'm going to close out the target audiences by talking, or having you talk, a little bit about our consortium program and what do we do for underrepresented minorities. What does that process look like? Similar to Forte in terms of the way that you operate, but also very different in some things. And so you'll see on the screen key benefits to applying, but also some things you need to do differently. And again, separately on our website, you can find all the information necessary for consortium applicants. But Julie, can you shed a little bit of light on that?
Absolutely. And, you know, not unlike the discussion about veterans and women, we are very committed to ensuring that there are more underrepresented minorities studying in business. Studying business and taking on leadership roles within corporate America. So the consortium is a group of about 19 leading business schools. We've been a member for decades. And students, again, you definitely want to go to the website to find out more about the application process, but candidates that either are a minority or support the mission of increasing the number of underrepresented minorities in American business. You can apply through the consortium, and you can apply to up to 6 schools. They have 2 deadlines, round 1 and then a round 2, which falls within our January deadline. So when I talked about round 3, I really focused on the January deadline. So when you do that, and again, we provide scholarship opportunities for consortium applicants in the exact same manner that we do the other, any other applicant. Nothing is separated out. It's nothing different. It's the same review process. Consortium applicants can receive a portion of tuition or up to a full tuition, which would be a consortium fellowship, and they can also be considered for a name scholarship. So we try, and again, we have a very holistic process, and we want to try to be as inclusive as possible to give every candidate that it's admitted to our program the opportunity to receive this funding from the school. And it depends on the strength of your application relative to everybody else that's applied within that round.
Absolutely. And I do think the consortium, the Forte program, our veterans efforts truly are hallmarks of the importance of diversity within our community and what that does not just for classmates, but to our alumni population and individuals nation and worldwide. So that's just a very important part of what we do at the business school. I'd be remiss to not talk about joint degrees. We've had a couple questions come in about that process. And then for that specifically, how do scholarships work for joint degree candidates? You have on the screen, you'll see the listing of joint degrees that are available at the business school across the different areas at Emory. And I should say that Emory's prestige of our graduate programs is second to none, truly. And so there is so much benefit from combining 2 great programs like our MBA program and any one of the opportunities that exist. But there are some specific things to note in the scholarship process. So I'll let Julie give a little bit more detail.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, I applaud you for considering if you are a joint degree. We are very proud to be part of Emory University, which has so many other outstanding units of the school, the law school, the School of Public Health, the medical school. I mean, it's tremendous. You apply, a couple key points. You apply separately to each program. All right, so there's not a joint degree application. all right? You should denote that you're applying to either program in our application, so we'll know that that's sort of your academic plans, but the application process is separate. And in some cases, it's earlier. So for example, if you're thinking about if you're an MD, MBA, so the medical school, in that instance, most of those people would have been admitted to the medical school 3 years prior, all right? So whether it's Emory Medical School or another medical school, and you don't start your MBA program until the end of the 3 years that you've already been in medical school. So that's the sort of the point that you would go to an MBA program, or at least into our MBA program, I should say. In terms of so that's a separate process. You're admitted if you apply to, let's say, Emory's School of Public Health, which tends to happen at, simultaneously. You apply to the School of Public Health the same time you do the business school. But again, the application process is separate, and you are reviewed for scholarship separately. All right, so it's completely independent. It's the exact, but for us, for the business school, it's the exact same process that I've already described. There's nothing extra or special that you have to do to be considered. If you were admitted to the business school, then you will be automatically considered for merit-based aid, and you will be notified of what that is when you get your acceptance, okay? The only caveat to that is the award that you receive from us, the monetary award, which we will notify you X number of dollars by semester, is only for the time that you are enrolled at the business school. So for each one of the, I know you saw there's a lot of degree programs, and so I'm not going to go into the nuances of each one. But know this, that for example, if you are a JD MBA, you're a student joint getting a law degree and a business school degree, it's a 4-year program, but you're only enrolled in the business school for 3 semesters, all right? And the rest of the time you're enrolled in the law school. So you only receive whatever it is, the scholarship award that we have given you, you only receive that for the 3 semesters that you're enrolled in the business school. I'm sure that makes sense to you because you're paying revenue to the business school, and then the scholarship that you would receive would, in a sense, would reduce the tuition that you would owe to the business school. So that's the only thing that's a little bit different about joint degree candidates.
Yeah, and I think that's important. I do think if you're considering any of these programs, it's definitely something you want to think about fully, and to look and make sure you explore information across all these programs. Our peers in the School of Medicine and School of Public Health and Law School, theology, all have great resources available, whether you have to apply to them first or following your work here. But that's an important thing to detail out. Before we kind of get ready to log off, I want to make sure I gave you guys a moment to ask any other outstanding questions. I'm going to reference a bit of our future chats that are coming up while you guys maybe gather some more of your thoughts to it. Make sure I give Julie some time to think about anything else she wants to add. What you see on screen right now are our future web chats. Those would be coming up in November and December. So for those of you interested in our one-year program, there'll be a Fueling Your Career with Goizueta's one-year MBA on Wednesday, November 8th. That'll be a fantastic opportunity for you to understand more about what outcomes you'll see from individuals in the one-year program. And then same thing for two-year program on December 6th. That'll be joined by one of our leaders in our CMC office, and really kind of speak specifically to those opportunities. Before I go, and I got additional question I think is a great one to add to it before we leave out of here. It's sort of the idea and question of it's a very big investment to get an MBA. How should I feel confident about kind of ROI and whether or not this degree is going to be something that will be able to pay off, whether it's a matter of how much money I get or just kind of the long-term idea. And I have some info I can put up on the screen of that, but I know Julie's got some strong thoughts about that idea.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for that question. It gives me an opportunity to brag. We are the top. We have a fantastic ROI for either our one-year or our two-year program, and I think that I know that Angela's going to put that up on your screen so you can see that. I think that is confirmation that number one, absolutely, we should be on your list of schools that you apply to. Number two, that we can, Goizueta will provide you with an outstanding academic experience. And number 3, it will provide you with access to companies and job opportunities that will help you realize your post-MBA goals. Our Career Services Office, working in tandem with the Program Office, working in concert with our faculty, all of that, I mean, we have a holistic process to help you get from where you are to what your post-MBA goals are. Our results are second to none.
Truly second to none.
Truly just second to none. I mean, being number 1 in ROI is something that we are enormously proud of. And to me, you're considering this degree and considering quitting your job and going back to school full time because you want to make a change in your career trajectory or your career path. Okay, we can help you do that, and the proof is right there that not only can we, but we have and we will. So I'm really excited about it. There's nothing that gives me greater joy than to get emails from students about the job opportunities they have. And it's very rewarding. And again, that our results speak for themselves.
Absolutely. So you'll have, like, as you see up on the screen, and Julie mentioned, our most recent ranking from the Forbes magazine related to our average years to payback, tied for number 1. I think it's a huge testament to what Julie mentions, but also to the hard work that students put in when they're in the program and the support that they get to be able to realize those goals. So it's important when you think of ROI to know what you're coming from and what you're going to and how that all relates for your personal experience. But in general, our students are looking like they're realizing a lot of their goals along the way. So I think that's very helpful. As I mentioned prior, the slides from this presentation, as well as the actual video footage from the chat today, will be available electronically in about a week or so. So we'll go ahead and email them back out to you, so you'll have that. If you have additional questions as you're preparing your application, we've got a deadline coming up in very soon, yes?
Yeah, well, we had our round 1 deadline
On
last
the 6th.
Friday. Yeah. So we got another one coming up, and we look forward to reviewing your applications. It's a really fun part of the job. It's always a pleasure, and we know that you are putting a lot of time and effort to it, and rest assured that we are as well. We thoughtfully make these decisions, and we want to make the best match so that you will have the experience that you want out of an MBA.
I cannot say it better than that. So with that said, I'll give you a couple more minutes back in your day. We're going to close ourselves out. Thank you so much for joining us today. Please join us for a future chat or send us your questions specifically, and we'd love to talk to you more. And I know Julie and her team look forward to reviewing your application. So have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
The preceding program is copyrighted by Emory University.